a lot of people have been championing Doge and all the shutdowns, the government shutdowns. A lot of them have been good. Some of them not so good. This one stuck out as a really bad one, which was, I guess he was able to slip in there with all the other shutdowns because we're cheering on these other ones. We're cheering on the corrupt FBI and all these other facilities that need to go or need accountability at least. At least you got to have some kind of accountability. All this stuff, the U.S. aid. I mean, we've been covering this for the last several weeks. But this one's a little different, and it definitely slipped through the cracks. Why is no one covering this one, Jay? Well, because the whole Black Lives Matter is over and we won because one cop is in jail for 7 years, and that means there's no more police brutality. And all they did was just funnel more money into the police system. So there's no side. No side is on this. Very similar to the Israel thing, where both sides agree on this. We don't need this information. Well, what information we're talking about? The information that's stored in police misconduct database. What happened? What did he do? Trump administration shuts down national database documenting police misconduct. What? Wait, what? Yes, Donald Trump's second presidential administration shut down a national database that tracked misconduct by federal police, a resource that policing reform advocates, who are barely any left, by the way, who are police reform advocates, not part of the Democratic Party. There's just we're homeless. They should add that the homeless reform, police reform advocates, that would be us, hailed as essential to prevent officers with misconduct records from being able to move undetected between agencies. Sounds like an an IDF tactic. That's weird. They do the same thing. Interesting. We like to model each other after each other. Our police loves to model ourselves after the IDF model. There's no accountability. The National Law Enforcement Accountability Database, that's NLEAD, which stored police records documenting misconduct, is now unavailable. The Washington Post first reported. The U.S. Justice Department also confirmed the database's elimination in a statement issued online. And here's a piece of that statement. User agencies can no longer query or add data to the NLEAD. The statement read, the U.S. Department of Justice is decommissioning the NLEAD in accordance with federal standards. And now a web link that hosted the database is no longer active. Jay, tell me what is going on here and why is no one saying anything about this? And how big of a problem is this?
I mean, if you care about big government, like putting its boot on your neck, then I would think you would want to make sure that we have good police officers, right? If you want people who do their job well to be recognized, and if you want people who do their job poorly to be held accountable, then we should have transparency, like over a job as important as the police. So I've never been one of the people who ran with the abolish the police movement. I thought that was a pretty dumb slogan. I thought defund the police was also like not a great slogan, because now whenever you talk about police reform, you get lumped into one of these two categories. Oh, do you want to defund the police or do you want to abolish the police? And the reason why I wasn't a fan of either of those movements is because if you look at something like Medicare for All, right? The name of the movement is something positive. It's telling you about what we're going to give you. Defund the police is taking something away. Abolish the police is taking something away. And even though I do believe we want to make sure we're managing our resources correctly and we're not just investing in police and prisons, but we're actually investing in communities and people, it's a negative perception because the whole slogan is built around taking something away. And police are needed. Like we can't have a society that doesn't have any police officers. So I really wish that movement had focused more on something positive. But as far as this move goes, now obviously people are so tired of the BLM conversation, abolish the police, defund the police, that now if you talk about any potential problems with it, they're going to think, oh, it's another guy who wants to get rid of all the policemen, like and stuff like that. No. I just want to make sure that people who are doing their jobs poorly and have the ability to kill somebody are being held accountable. Because, let's be honest here, guys. Like, if we're moving into a time where there could be, a poor economy, and there could be more civil unrest happening because of that. There could be more protest. Like, the police are going to want to crack down on these people. If we don't have any accountability for police behaving badly, they're going to be doing everything they can to intimidate people who are peacefully pushing for solutions like to this issue. So if you're an activist that cares about any issue, you should care about bad police being kept out of the police force, because this affects everybody. This affects everything. And yes, it might affect one group of people or a few groups of people disproportionately more, but it does affect everybody. So if you're someone who believes in anything, who could see yourself being part of a protest, no matter what that protest is, you should want, and even if that's not the case, just care about your fellow Americans, like care about your fellow human beings. Let's get people who aren't violent, like on the police force, and let's make sure that if they abuse their job somewhere and get fired from somewhere, they can't just turn around and go get hired in another police department like 2 counties over. Like, we do not want that situation.
So we've talked about this before, and I agree with you. It was a shitty slogan. Got to get a better slogan. But I think that it's only recently that I started thinking beyond. Because when you say shitty slogan, there's kind of this assumption that there was a team of activists that came up with this in a room. No, this was a top-down operation.
Mm,
This was deliberately done poorly. So
mhm,
that's what I want to put that out there for people. Now, look, I'm not 100% telling you 100% fact that's true, but that's what it looks like to me. When we look at how the CIA, we know this deal, Jay. We talking to the Colonel Townsend the other week about
mhm,
how the CIA functions. That it's a top-down method, making people think something's coming up from the bottom.
mhm.
But it's real. The whole thing's captured from the beginning. So
Yep.
the slogan is designed to divide us, to make us think that
Mhm,
there's there's nothing there. Meanwhile, we're funneling the money into the thing that we're saying defund, and here we are, all these years later, and no one's talking about this because the whole thing was a failed project. But yet there's these memories of, oh, the activists were in the street and we got something done and we put an end to police brutality. It's like,
no, they
no.
didn't.
And I'll say one more thing and I'll pass it back to you. But this part's important. The reason they're doing this is because if we did figure out our own slogan, whatever it is, and I see Robin Hood Forrest did this one. This is good. I think it should be reform the police. Thank you for that, Robin Hood Forrest. Um, yeah, actually, I'll keep that. I want to keep that up there so people see it should be. That's a that's a good idea. There's other good ideas too. There's other good ideas. We should actually have a
Mhm,
meeting and like figure out a good one. But I'll say this: the reason they don't want us coming up with a good idea is because it might attract other populists from the right
mm,
as well. And
mhm,
what we know about right wing populism, because we have a lot of colleagues and affiliates and associates, we've been following that. We've been following the January 6th stuff. We know there's the sentiment. They're big on Second Amendment gun.
mhm,
Right. They're big on pro cop. They were taking selfies with cops at the Capitol.
mhm,
However, they're also very much aware that FBI, CIA, these 3-letter agencies are captured and people with power abuse that power. They
mhm,
understand that. That's the functionality of these agencies. The police are no different. The left knows this about the police, or they did until they got confused about it during the defund the police. Again, on purpose, they got them confused. They
mhm,
don't know what to be skeptical of anymore, other than their neighbor with a Trump sign. That's the thing. It's the neighbor with the Trump sign. That's the thing that's going to hurt my life, not somebody abusing their badge and gun. That's not going to hurt me anymore. But they know that deep down. And so if they allowed us to do our own slogans and allowed us to actually have a ground up movement that wasn't captured from the get-go, we'd all realize we were on the same side, and we have to be skeptical of all of the agencies. What the
mhm,
hell is the difference between an FBI agent or an undercover CIA guy or somebody or a Fed that's called up and said, your job today is to put on a MAGA outfit, go to the Capitol. There's a box hidden for you in the back room. We got so-and-so's going to radio. What's the difference between that and show up to Compton, plant some effing evidence, get this guy booked, bring him in, shoot him in the back if he resists, or if he resists, shoot him in the
mhm.
back, say it was self. So what is the hell is the difference between those two scenarios? I'm
Yep.
telling you, the people are going to wake up and realize this. They know that, so they have to double down on these co-op horrible operations that they do to us over and over. And I'm sick of it. We need enough people to stand up and say, enough of this. We need a real ground up movement. So this needs to be blasted out there. And it's not a left right issue. This is a people issue. You're 100% right, Jay. The police not having accountability is the same problems we've been screaming about, and the right is screaming about it, about other problems. We all need to come together and say, this is not right.
Exactly. Like the whole thing could have been framed in a completely different way. Like, I like that slogan, I believe it was Robin Hood just put up reform the police, because let's get them better training. Let's teach them de-escalation tactics. Like there's a reason why, army officers, like retired veterans who come back and join the police force, tend to have less complaints against them. It's because they are trained to recognize actual threats, like, when they're going abroad overseas, and like they don't overreact, like in smaller situations. They have much better training than our police officers. So, like, both the right and the left should be able to agree that we want better trained police officers, right? So that could have been something we spoke about. There could have been a big focus on, hey, let's get the best education system in the world right here in America, which will likely reduce the number of criminals like that we have on the street, right? And then we won't have to worry about as much criminals running around. So like the focus shouldn't be on taking away something. As we're building a movement, the focus has to be on building something new. Like, because if it's negative, it's just a way to divide people, and you're not focusing on what comes after. So, I love everything you said just now, man. Great points. And if the more people realize that we're in a moment where we can find common ground, like the better chance, like we can actually come together, and get something done. Because like I think, I don't know. Like I'm hoping that, it already seems like MAGA is pushing back on Trump on certain issues. So if the left can kind of, get it together and reach out to MAGA more, like, we're trying to do over here on the homeless left, like we really do have potential to, like turn this thing around. So hopefully, we get on the right page. But
we need to get
yeah.
on the right page. And I think, and I'm trying to do this. And when Craig comes on the show, he says, no, don't worry about those Democrats that will never learn. I go, I think some of them are waking up. We had our moment years ago, but some are having it now, and we need them in our coalition, just like we need the right-wing populists in our coalition. But we need more lefties to go homeless with us too. I mean, we really do. So then we'll be loud enough, like you're saying, that's what they don't want, but we can do it. We need enough people understanding that we're actually on the same side, and we've been on the same side the whole time. We just didn't know it.
And just, to leave it on a positive note, before I got to dip out, I've been having a few debates, with people on the left on different social media platforms, and even on the vaccine issue. Like I am starting to make like a little bit of progress, but what I think the key in the conversation is when you're talking to people online, avoid insulting people when they insult you, because that's what people always go to when you make a good point and they don't know how to respond. They insult you and they start calling you names. But if you can avoid responding to the name calling and just staying on point and sticking with your data and showing them more data, like on the vaccine issue in particular, I started throwing studies at people. I started, like showing them the graphs and helping them visualize it. And then you get to the point where you can tell they're kind of starting to think about some of the points that you're making. So I just encourage everyone, as you have interactions online, do not let people drag you into the gutter. I get people saying the wildest shit to me, man, like on a regular basis online. And I never respond with negativity. If there's a point that I was originally trying to make, I just ignore the insults and provide more reasons and more data behind my point. And even if you don't convert that person, what you do is you leave a trail of evidence. So the next person who comes along and looks at the conversation sees, okay, one person is insulting this guy, and this guy is just giving good reasons and data behind his answers. So I'd encourage everyone to pretend whoever you're talking to online is right there in front of you in person, and they can beat you up. How would you speak to this person if you really had a point to make?
Yep.
Like, you would be nice, you would stick to your point, you wouldn't engage in the back and forth, you would just focus on the point. So as you're talking to people online, pretend that's a situation, and eventually more and more people will come to the right side. So yeah.
I love that advice, Jay. I will personally take it to heart because I need to apply it right here in Hollywood, like right now, like literally like yesterday. I need to be doing that. But yeah, and everybody listening, great advice, Jay. Thanks so much for being on with us again this week, and remind people where they can find you. I see right there. You're go for it.
Best place to find me is on X, on Twitter at JS Ascension. I'm also on Instagram, 649 Royalty. Follow me on there, but the best place is on X. That's where I am the most. I got an album coming in June. It's going to be good music, positive music with a message. I'm speaking about everything from ancient history to politics to love, everything you could imagine. So check it out, and I'll be in touch soon. Later, Matt.
Thanks, Jay. Okay. All right, Jay Scott, ladies and gentlemen.